Hey, good morning. Let's go over today's trade plan. So in the overnight session, sellers continue to be active at essentially yesterday's initial resistance zone. The market tested one tick beyond it, but then we got to move back down towards the 72 half high volume node. At this point, heading into the open, our short-term bias is neutral. The intermediate is also neutral, but the bigger picture continues to be bullish. So off the open today, we are going to have to pay closer attention to how the markets are developing in real time and what kind of momentum we're seeing in real time. So on the upside, if we can get a breakout beyond this 77.5 to 78.5 pre-market resistance, that would serve as the first signal that buyers are starting to step in, and from there we can go back up and test 83.75 to 85.75. Now if we're heading up on high momentum with the other markets also putting in some decent upside moves, then we don't necessarily have to stop at 83.75 to 85.75. That zone provided a pretty nice swing yesterday as well as in the overnight session, and at this point, if the market starts heading back up towards that zone on high momentum with the other markets also showing some upside momentum, then although there can be a reaction at that zone, if majority of the signals in real time are bullish, then there would be potential to break beyond 83.75 to 85.75 for a test of 88.5 to 90.5. We have an open gap at 91, and then the 92.5 to 94.5 area marks the all-time high. So 83.75 to 85.75 continues to be the main resistance area above, but we are going to have to assess the situation in real time to determine if it's still worthwhile to short that zone. So if we're seeing a lot of bullish signals in real time, especially if the Russell starts to break beyond the 1482 to 1485 area, then we're going to have to be careful on shorting 83.75 to 85.75, because at that point, if there's enough upside momentum, we could head higher into 88.5 to 90.5 and possibly even 92.5 to 94.5, but that's something that we will have to gauge and assess in real time. On the downside, we have initial support at 71.25 to 73.25. And if the market is going to head higher today, then ideally the buy side holds ES above 71.25, 73.25. Now keep in mind that it's not a major area of support on its own, but if the buyers are really going to push the market higher today, then the ideal situation would be that the buy side holds ES above initial support. Below that, 62 to 64 continues to be the more significant area of support. It marks the short-term balance area low, and that is still a spot where responsive buyers can be active, and we would have to see a lot of intraday weakness and some big downside momentum in order to take that zone out. Below 62 to 64, we have support at 55.5 to 57.5. It's not really a major area of support, but the range potential of the day would be quite exhausted at that point, and mainly for that reason, buyers can still be active there. So the context heading into today is such that we have to pay closer attention to how things are developing in real time. Yesterday, the market context was much more clear and our short-term bias was bearish. At this point, heading into the open, the short-term bias is neutral, and because of that, the real-time intraday bias is going to have more of an influence on how the market sets up today. So if we can break above 77.5 to 78.5, that would be the first sign of buyers stepping in. And then from there, we can test 83.75 to 85.75. If we're seeing persistent momentum, then we can take that zone out, head higher into 88.5 to 90.5, and possibly even 92.5 to 94.5. And then on the downside, if you take initial support out, we can retest 62 to 64, and buyers can still be active there on first test, and then we'd have to see a lot of persistent and big downside momentum to take that area out, because it marks the short-term balance area low. So that is the context heading into the open. Let's see if the buy side actually steps in today in a more aggressive way. The Russell tested larger time frame support yesterday, so we'll be watching to see if we can get some follow through to the upside in the Russell as well. So those are the main ideas heading into the open. Let's see how the market responds to initial support and pre-market resistance off the open here, and we'll take it from there.